Look at the Dubai Marina under the harsh midday sun. Look at the outdoor promenades beneath the Burj Khalifa. Then look at the gates of the Dubai Miracle Garden, closed and locked for months. Look at the Dubai Safari Park, where the operating season has completely ended. When the hottest months arrive, the winter version of this city simply vanishes. Some of its most famous outdoor attractions are erased from the tourist calendar entirely. But the strangest part is not what this city closes. It is what a global tourism machine has to do with the famous places that cannot close. When you build a seasonal tourism destination, extreme weather is usually solved by shutting the gates. A flower garden can hibernate until autumn, but the Dubai Marina does not have that option. This is one of the most heavily marketed waterfront districts in the world. It is a dense network of residential skyscrapers, luxury hotels, and outdoor dining promenades. Just a few streets away, the Jumeirah Beach Residence coastline holds thousands of hotel rooms right on the sand. You cannot put a coastline into storage for 4 months. You cannot evacuate a skyline just because the temperature crosses 40 degrees Celsius. So these locations create the first major contradiction of the summer. If a place cannot disappear, the way people use it has to change instead. During the peak daylight hours of summer, the promenades are largely surrendered to the heat. But the official Visit Dubai guides for these areas specifically point out a completely different pattern. They note that the marina and the beach residents become highly active later in the evening and on weekends. The infrastructure remains exactly the same. The environment has not cooled down to winter levels. But the direct thermal load of the sun has been removed. Dubai does not always answer the summer by closing the city. Sometimes, the answer is simply changing the clock. That strategy of shifting time becomes even more obvious when you look at the center of the city. The Burj Khalifa is the anchor of downtown Dubai. It is a permanent fixture of the global tourism map. A seasonal entertainment park on the edge of the desert can afford to turn off its lights and wait for October. But downtown Dubai cannot simply disappear. It is surrounded by outdoor viewing areas, pedestrian bridges, and open-air promenades designed for heavy foot traffic. In January, those outdoor spaces are the primary way tourists experience the scale of the tower. In July, standing on that same concrete plaza at 2 in the afternoon becomes a physical endurance test. The heat radiates off the paving stones and reflects off the glass facades. When an iconic landmark cannot be shut down, the city has to push the human experience somewhere else. It has to find ways to keep the area attractive without forcing visitors to endure the peak daytime climate. And the easiest way to do that is to wait for the Earth to rotate. You can see this adaptation happening right at the edge of the water. Kite Beach is one of the most popular stretches of sand in the city. In the winter, its peak operating hours look like any major coastal destination. But summer forces a completely different rhythm. The Dubai municipality officially promotes designated night swimming beaches, equipped with powerful floodlights and safety systems. The government explicitly describes this as a creative solution to the summer heat. It allows residents and tourists to use the ocean long after the sun has set. The water is still there, and the sand is still there. Dubai did not close the beach. It changed the clock. By removing the direct solar radiation, a hostile daytime environment becomes a viable nighttime attraction. This is the first concrete proof of how the city reorganizes itself. But moving the schedule only works for places that are naturally suited for the dark. Some attractions cannot solve the summer simply by turning on floodlights and waiting for sunset. For those places, shifting the clock is not enough. The city has to take a much more drastic step. The Dubai Miracle Garden is one of the most recognizable outdoor attractions in the city. During its operating season, it is packed with crowds navigating around massive floral structures. But if you visit during the hottest months, you will find it completely absent from the visitor calendar. The official attraction information states that the garden closes during the summer for seasonal renovation, maintenance, and replanting. One of the most heavily photographed locations in Dubai disappears from the tourism experience. The massive floral displays are placed behind locked gates. The tourist buses stop arriving. the foot traffic drops to zero. The entire operation goes into a long hibernation period to avoid the harshest weather conditions. This is the first verified seasonal closure on the map. It proves the summer climate exerts enough pressure to pull a major destination out of the market for months. But a garden shutting down might seem like a simple landscaping requirement. Plants obviously struggle in extreme heat. The real shift in the city's operating pattern happens when the disappearance moves beyond just flowers and landscaping. And the Miracle Garden is not the only place that vanishes. Global Village is not just a garden. It is a massive seasonal entertainment destination. Season 30 ran all the way from October 2025 into May 2026. Now, the official site tells visitors it will not return until October 2026. The spectacular illuminated pavilions, the rides, and the crowds vanish from the map for months. A single garden closing is a maintenance schedule, but an entire destination going off the calendar shows a clear operational pattern. This is a location designed to handle massive volumes of international foot traffic. Yet, for a significant portion of the year, the infrastructure sits dormant. The connection to the summer climate is obvious. Operating a sprawling outdoor entertainment complex becomes impractical when evening temperatures and humidity levels rise. The business model simply adapts by erasing the summer from its financial year. It operates as if those months do not exist. But the next location makes the connection to the summer heat completely impossible to ignore. The Dubai Safari Park provides the strongest direct evidence of how the city manages its hottest months. The park is currently closed for the season and is scheduled to return in October 2026. The official Frequently Asked Questions page explicitly states that the park pauses operations during the peak summer months due to extreme heat. It is a verified seasonal closure. A garden closes its gates. A massive entertainment destination ends its season, and a major wildlife park officially pauses during the hottest period of the year. Here, the impact of the heat is not just our interpretation. The park says it directly. When the daytime environment becomes too harsh, the most effective survival strategy is to erase the attraction from the calendar entirely. The wildlife is moved to climate-controlled enclosures, and the public-facing operation stops completely. This confirms the fundamental premise of the summer transition. The extreme climate is a physical barrier that certain business models simply cannot cross. They must yield to the weather and wait for the earth to tilt back toward winter. But this realization forces a much larger question about the rest of the city. At first glance, this makes summer seem like an easy problem to solve. If an attraction cannot comfortably operate during the hottest part of the year, the city just closes it. You lock the gates and wait for autumn. But that strategy only works for places that are actually allowed to close. The Dubai Marina cannot simply shut down its waterfront. The Jumeirah Beach Residence cannot put its coastline away in storage. The skyscrapers of downtown Dubai cannot disappear until October. These are massive urban centers with thousands of residents, hotels, and permanent retail operations. They represent billions of dollars in real estate that must continue to generate returns regardless of the season. They are the economic engines of the tourism industry. Closing them is not an option. So how does the rest of Dubai stay attractive when it has to remain open? How do you convince tourists to visit a city where the outdoor environment works against them? The answer brings us back to the places that created the mystery in the first place. Before minute 10, the marina and the downtown promenades were the problem. They were the locations that could not be shut down. Now, they help provide the answer. Evening removes the one major variable that daylight cannot fix, which is the direct sun. Because the infrastructure must remain active, Dubai promotes these nighttime locations as major parts of its tourism offering. The city essentially extends the night. Restaurants shift their peak service hours. Pedestrian traffic along the water increases dramatically after sunset. The tourism experience is reorganized around the hours of darkness. This does not mean the summer creates the concept of Dubai nightlife. It means the night becomes the primary vehicle for outdoor tourism. The The first survival strategy is changing the season. The second strategy is changing when the city is experienced. By pushing the bulk of outdoor human activity away from the peak solar load, the city manages to keep its permanent infrastructure viable. It allows the waterfronts and promenades to continue functioning as valuable assets. This creates a distinct shift in the daily rhythm of the city. You can see this adaptation clearly at the Dubai Fountain. According to Visit Dubai, the main evening performances run from around 6 in the evening onward. This evening schedule does not exist, specifically because of the summer heat. The fountain operates in the winter as well. But it illustrates a broader visual idea that the city relies on. Some of Dubai's most cinematic public experiences already become more dramatic after dark. The transition from the harsh daylight on the Burj Khalifa to the illuminated water shows at sunset perfectly captures this shift. The city knows how to make the night feel like a premium experience. By moving the focus to the evening, the city removes the harshness of the midday sun. But moving the clock only solves part of the problem, because a Dubai summer night is still warm. The humidity can still be high, and the ambient temperature remains elevated. Waiting for sunset is not enough, which means the city has to deploy a completely different strategy. It has to pull the tourists off the streets entirely. The third strategy requires stepping away from the outdoor promenades and walking through a set of air-conditioned doors. The Dubai Mall is not a victim of the summer heat. It is a massive architectural adaptation. When you look at downtown Dubai from the outside during the middle of a July afternoon, the pedestrian spaces are quiet. But inside the mall, the environment is operating at peak capacity. This is not just a shopping center. It is an enormous indoor destination that contains an aquarium, dining districts, and large-scale entertainment spaces all sealed within a controlled climate. The city essentially builds another version of itself inside. The first strategy was to change the season. The second strategy was to change the time of day. The third strategy is to change the environment completely. What if Dubai's answer was not making every outdoor space feel like winter? What if a major part of the answer was building enormous indoor worlds where the outdoor climate simply does not matter? Most of the city's major indoor attractions operate on this exact premise. They take the experiences normally found across a city block and compress them into a single refrigerated volume. The sheer scale of these indoor spaces allows the tourism economy to continue generating revenue even when the streets are empty. They are the ultimate defense mechanism against the desert. But one specific location takes that idea to its absolute logical extreme. There is one visual contradiction that explains Dubai's approach to the summer better than anything else. Outside the walls, it is a harsh desert environment. Inside the building, there is a snow park operating at approximately -4 degrees Celsius. Ski Dubai is an indoor ski resort built directly into the Mall of the Emirates. The official attraction actively markets summer passes to tourists as a way to beat the heat. We do not need to analyze the massive refrigeration systems or the electricity required to keep snow frozen in the desert. The point is what that snow represents for the tourism industry. It is an entertainment experience designed to ignore the climate outside. It is the ultimate proof that the city solves its climate problem by manufacturing a new environment. Outside, the city has to adapt the clock and wait for the sun to go down. Inside, the city can rewrite the climate entirely. It can offer a winter sports experience in the middle of July. And suddenly, the 10 famous locations we have looked at stop seeming like random examples. They are no longer just a collection of closures, late-night beaches, and indoor malls. They are all part of a single, highly coordinated, citywide adaptation. When you map all of these locations together, a very clear operational pattern emerges. 3 different versions of Dubai appear every summer. The first version is defined by the places that change the season. The Dubai Miracle Garden, Global Village, and the Dubai Safari Park all disappear from the heart of the summer visitor calendar. They remove themselves from the thermal load entirely and accept a shorter financial year. The second version is defined by the places that change the clock. The Dubai Marina, the Jumeirah Beach Residence, Kite Beach, and the outdoor viewing areas of downtown Dubai cannot simply close. They remain active, but their after-dark experiences become significantly more important. They shift their operational peak to the hours when the sun is no longer a factor. The third version is defined by the places that change the environment. Instead of trying to adapt the outdoor spaces, locations like the Dubai Mall and Ski Dubai create heavily controlled indoor tourism environments. They pull the economic activity inside and seal it behind thick glass and steel. This is not a random collection of seasonal closures. It is a structured system designed to keep a global destination running when the natural environment becomes hostile. These three strategies form a safety net for the tourism industry. When one part of the city fails due to the heat, another part of the city takes over the load. The burden of entertaining millions of visitors is simply passed from the gardens to the night beaches and finally to the massive indoor megastructures. So does this mean the provocative claims are actually true? Does Dubai really become a completely empty ghost city every summer? The answer is no, not literally. The city does not shut down all operations and wait for the winter. Dubai continues to actively promote summer tourism through massive seasonal programs like Dubai Summer Surprises. It pushes heavy marketing for indoor events, shopping festivals, entertainment centers, and luxury hotel experiences. What actually disappears is the winter version of the city. In January, the tourism map emphasizes walking, outdoor gardens, open-air attractions, and coastal promenades. In July, that specific map is erased. The summer map emphasizes seasonal closures, much later daily activity, night beaches, mega malls, and indoor entertainment. The city is still there, and the tourists are still there. But the way they navigate the urban space has fundamentally changed. The physical footprint of the tourism industry shrinks during the day and expands at night. It abandons the exposed concrete and retreats into the air conditioning. The city has not emptied out, it has simply reorganized itself to survive the conditions. The ghost city narrative is a misunderstanding of how a highly adapted urban system actually functions. This is the ultimate price of building a global tourism machine inside a desert. Dubai sells a very specific image to the world. It sells beaches, waterfront promenades, incredible skyline views, wildlife, and year-round attractions. But it has to sell all of those things inside a climate that actively fights against outdoor human activity for several months of the year. The real achievement of this city is not that it somehow eliminated the summer. No amount of money or engineering can turn off the desert sun. The achievement is that the city built different ways to experience the exact same destination under completely different thermal conditions. The summer climate does not erase Dubai's tourism industry. It forces the machine to change its operating pattern. It forces a compromise between the ambition of the developers and the reality of the geography. If you look at the Dubai Marina at midday, it seems abandoned. If you look at it again at night, the promenades are full. You can photograph the Miracle Garden when it is packed with crowds, and you can photograph the locked gates when the season ends. You can film the illuminated pavilions of Global Village, and you can film the dark, empty lot in July. You can watch the safari park close its doors, and you can watch the floodlights turn on for night swimming at Kite Beach. You can stand sweating outside the Burj Khalifa, and you can walk into the Dubai Mall and look at a massive indoor aquarium. You can stare at the desert sand, and you can step inside and touch the snow. Dubai does not defeat the summer by pretending the heat is not there. It survives the summer by changing the entire human experience around it. Every summer, one version of Dubai disappears, and another one takes its place. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only. It is designed to analyze tourism patterns, seasonal operational changes, and urban adaptation strategies in Dubai. It relies on official attraction schedules and publicly available operational data. It does not constitute travel or professional advice. If you found this investigation into Dubai's summer tourism strategy interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let us know in the comments which seasonal adaptation surprised you the most. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next analysis.